无敌超级大神！
Hello, heroes! We continue our discussion on the bottom line. Today we're talking about the third bottom line, noise control. Let's dive right in and talk about the basics of noise control. First off, mute any noise that is not student participation. Jackie, your singing is so cute, but Bruce, I love how you're emoting as you scribble on the screen, but it's so endearing how your mother's helping you, but any noise that is not student participation should be muted. In the Magic Ears classroom, you'll encounter all types of noise, from students making their own noise situations to parents who are helping give the answers in class. Also, mic noises and equipment noises, radios, TVs, babies, dogs, oh my! In a Magic Ears classroom, there are 4 students and 4 potential noise problems. Making that decision to mute can be difficult if you're worried about hurting the child's feelings, or maybe you're worried that the parents will notice and they won't like it, giving you a bad review. Magic Ears has this solved. When you mute a student, they have no idea. Worried about parents complaining? Never fear. As long as you're reporting the problem so Magic Ears knows why you muted the kids and that it wasn't just that you don't like the sound of kids, then Magic Ears will stand up for you and invalidate that feedback regarding muting. Which brings us to point 2 of basic noise policy. Anytime you mute, report. Think of these 2 actions as going hand in hand. Mute, report. They are friends. Hello, hello. To report noise, click the help button in the top right corner of the classroom. Look at the drop-down menu and choose the correct issue. Then click the name of the student that it pertains to. This noise report will then go to our support team. They'll contact the parents and ask them to resolve the noise issue. Meanwhile, the teacher doesn't need to do anything else to correct the noise. No telling the students to be quiet, no reprimanding parents for speaking, or anything else about noise control. You've done what you needed to do when you muted and reported. Now, our goal is always to keep interaction as high as we possibly can. So we always want to get the kids back interacting completely as soon as possible. This means we're going to want to unmute them as soon as we have the chance. But when? How do we know when to unmute them? This is point 3 of basic noise policy. We unmute the student when we get a pop-up message telling us that the student's issue has been resolved. In most cases, tech support has called the home of the parents and asked them to resolve the issue. So you unmute the student again. At this time, you will either hear a great learning environment or an issue that is still not resolved. If the issue is still not resolved, it's our job as the teacher to get that environment quiet again. So we will mute that student again, click help again, and report the problem once more. This lets the support team know that the issue is not resolved. It also goes into the log of the class so that anyone reviewing your class later can understand what was going on at that time. The second way that we might unmute the student is when we have the one-on-one practice. Even though the student has a noise issue, they still get one-on-one time with the teacher. So you'll drag the student up into one-on-one practice with you. At that time, that muted student becomes unmuted. And as always, all the children who are not in one-on-one are automatically muted. While you're in one-on-one with the student, listen to see if they still have the noise issue. If they no longer have the noise issue, you can unmute them after you move them back down. If they do still have the noise issue after one-on-one mode, then report it again so that the tech team continues to know that there's a problem, and so you've recorded the issue in that log of the class. So that's how we mute. That is the process, the basic noise policy. But which student is having the noise issue? This can be tricky to find out, but I'm going to give you some tricks to find out. Number 1, the process of elimination. Mute all the students and then one by one unmute until you find which one has the noise. This will isolate that student so that you can hear their individual environment. Another way to find the noise issue is to watch for the white bars in that student's individual volume bar. If it's not a one-on-one time or you don't want to take the time to do an extra one-on-one, you can also drag an individual student up on screen. This will mute all the students below, and you can just have that student say one thing and listen to their environment, bringing them down quickly. What if you hear a low buzz and it's not showing up on any of the volume bars and you can't figure out which kid it is? That's likely an equipment problem. Look and see which kid is not wearing headphones. Isolate that kid first and see. Not wearing headphones in the class can produce noise problems, so sometimes we can identify where it's probably coming from just by noting the heads of the children in the class. Another good way to take a preliminary guess, if the kid has a star by their name, they're a new student and they don't know the policies of the class well yet. They haven't been in class and experienced and been muted and been taught yet. So a new student will often have noise issues. Next level noise control. First practice of a noise control pro, multitasking.
For helping 5 hours. Good job. Good job. Woohoo! Awesome. Okay.
Notice how she's dealing with Lily, who's crying, and she mutes that situation. Meanwhile, Sheldon falls off his chair. Teacher Kimberly has him muted before he hits the floor, continuing to teach, praise, smile, and move to the next slide. Most of us do not start off at pro level when we begin with Magic Ears. For many of us, noise control is the last of the bottom lines for us to really get a hold of. For me, it was the one I struggled with the most. I got this tip from a workshop I recently attended with teacher Carly. She said, when you notice the noise, go ahead and mute it, but do the reporting as you're transitioning from slide to slide. Think about it. You've got those transitional phrases memorized, and if you don't, you easily could. She said that she can say those phrases without thinking about them while maintaining a smile and changing the slide and reporting. So think about those transitional times. Times when the children are all circling, when the children are singing, when you're going from slide to slide. Teacher Carly even said that if there's not a great moment coming up to mute, that she'll even call out, okay, everyone, let's repeat it again, and have the student saying something so that she can take that moment to report. Use those moments that are perfect for reporting the issues or create your own. Second practice of a noise control pro, continuing to involve the students even when they're muted, or better yet, when they are all muted. Teachers often want to know, what will I do if I have all my students muted? Do we just not have an interactive class? Of course not. We can always find a way to interact with our students. In the case that all the students are muted because every one of them has a noise issue, then you can toggle back and forth between muting and unmuting. When it's time for the teacher to read, mute all students and read, "It is an apple." Then when it's time for the students to repeat, unmute. You can continue to do this throughout the class. Teacher talks, student talks. Doing this will allow the students to hear the teacher without interruption from those noise issues, but it still allows them to interact. This toggling between mute and unmute when all 4 students have an issue is the Magic Ears recommended procedure. The other Magic Ears recommended procedure when all students are muted is to have more one-on-one interaction. It's always appropriate to have some one-on-one interaction even when there are noise problems. So just have more of it. Bring them up one at a time and practice with them in one-on-one mode, or even dragging one up to the stage to say a word. quickly down again, and the next one. This is a fun and useful technique even when there are no noise issues. So take advantage of it like a noise control pro would. To place a noise policy in a nutshell, we could say that we mute all noise that is not student participation with the goal of continuing to interact as much as possible. I've given you some tips for getting those kids back interacting, plus some tips for how to interact with them when they are muted. These tips should have you well on your way to pro status. And that completes our series on the bottom lines, teaching with passion, class progress, and noise control. Meeting the bottom lines in every class keeps the parents happy, which keeps the company happy, which keeps us happy, which keeps Bonnie happy. Happy teaching, everyone. See you next time. Goodbye. If you haven't done so already, please click Bonnie to subscribe and check out this next video we have for you.